We look at the task of graphing the function y equals 2t squared minus 4 plus 4t minus 3. When we do the graph, we know that we're going to get a parabola. This is something we simply know about quadratic functions. We can prove this, and we do get a parabola. The parabola is going to have an axis of symmetry. If it passes through the horizontal axis, it's going to have two zeros, two places where it intercepts the axis, and a vertex on the axis of symmetry. We begin by finding the zeros. Now the zeros of this function are where y equals 0, so that's 2t squared plus 4t minus 3 equals 0. We solve this equation using the quadratic formula. To use the quadratic formula, we simply note that y is 0 when 2t squared plus 4t minus 3 equals 0, and this is the form of a quadratic equation where at squared plus bt plus c equals 0. A is 2, b is 4, c is negative 3. We plug those numbers into the quadratic formula and do some simplification. Note that I've got 4 squared here, and I really should say negative, oh wait a minute, it's not negative 4, it's 4. Forget that. We got 4 squared here, and we simplify. We simplify under the radical and we get a 40 here. Note that the square root of 40 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 10, which is 2 times the square root of 10. We don't do that kind of simplification here simply because we're talking in a modeling context. We wouldn't have nice whole numbers here, so we're generally in a modeling context not going to get this kind of a simplification, so we're going to approximate the square root by 6.3. Now in other contexts it's important to understand how that simplifies and to use the radicals, but we get negative 4 plus or minus 6.3 over 4 when we approximate. This gives us, distributing the division by 4 through the addition in the numerator, or addition subtraction, we get negative 1 plus or minus 1.58. This gives us our two zeros. Negative 1 is here, so negative 1 minus 1.58 and negative 1 plus 1.58. Now what's halfway between negative 1 plus a number and negative 1 minus the same number? Well, it's obvious that negative 1 is going to be halfway between. Whenever we have the solution of a quadratic equation that simplifies like this, we know that this number here is halfway between the two zeros, and if we're looking at the graph of a parabola, this number is going to give us the t-coordinate of the vertex. So that's why we've circled all these things in green here. This is what gives us the t-coordinate of the vertex, ultimately the negative 4 over 2 times 2, which simplifies down to the negative 1. So we have the two zeros and the vertex. We can easily sketch a parabola given those 3 points. If we want to get the y-coordinate of the vertex, we plug the t-coordinate, negative 1, into the function. T equals negative 1, we're going to get the y-coordinate of the vertex. We could also get the y-intercept by plugging in t equals 0. We see that y would be negative 3, so we would have the point where t is 0 and y is negative 3. And that's going to be the y-intercept.